Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to giving our Power Apps Solutions and Flow video a gander. My name is Michael Riley. I'm CTO here at Hazy Tech. Today I'm joined with Dylan Lang. Say hello, Dylan.
Hello, everyone.
And, we have the same intro for every video. Maybe we should change it up sometimes, but, whatever.
That's how we
So,
do things.
so I'm excited about this one, Power Apps. I mean, it's something that I personally am passionate about. I see the light with what they're trying to do, and it just everything is clicking. I mean, it's just amazing. They have a bunch of different departments all working towards the same goal, and it's cool to see all the pieces kind of really come together. But we're going to dip our toes in it, so to speak. So with that, let's no slides today. Dylan, who wants to see a slide anyways? Let's be honest. Let's cut straight over to the portal and let's get right into it. So, Dylan, how about you pull it up and let's dig into what a solution is.
All right, sounds good. All right, so here we are at make.powerapps.com, and this is basically the URL you want to access if you want to go to anything Power Apps or Power Automate related. Now, if you actually want to get to Power Automate, basically what you would do is click Flows, but we're going to focus on the Power Apps portion first. Now, we touched on this a little bit in a past video, so if you want to check out that video first, just to give a brief overview of what we're looking at here, go ahead and click on the link on the screen or the one in the description below. That'll give you a quick overview, so when we click on things a little quickly here, you'll know what we're clicking on. So anyways, let's jump straight into the solutions aspect of this. So what we have here is the best practice that we're going to show you. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to build something in our sandbox environment, something very simple, and then we are going to export it and import it into our production environment. This is the best practice because basically if you wanted to migrate to any other system and you're exporting these solutions out of this sandbox environment, you can move it to any environment, just so long as it meets all of your dependencies. So if you have like a base solution that's more complex than others and it's based on other requirements, then obviously you want to include that.
So you could actually develop solutions and then sell it again. So don't they have an app store of some sort, Dylan?
That's right. You can actually go to the Power Apps marketplace and basically market these as well. You can sell these to basically anyone that accesses that marketplace. You can also use these to integrate directly with any Dynamics environment. And today we're actually going to show you an example in Dynamics. So this is going to affect it directly. So speaking about the marketplace, you can actually see up here an open app source, and that will actually take you to some of these pre-made solutions. So if you want to go check out some of the things there, you might be able to find what you're looking for before you start your own solution. So let's get started, and let's start with a new solution. We're going to create a solution simply called test. And the idea for this solution is that we are going to take a description field that is on our lead. Every time we update that field, we want it to write back to the contact that the lead is related to. So we're just going to call it test lead contact description. I know this is kind of not the best name for it, but we're just going to do this just for the sake of showing you how to get through all of this. And you can add a publisher to basically, if you wanted to publish this to the App Store and everything, you could create your publishing name. In this case, we're going to pick Hazy Tech just to make it simple. And this is version 1000. You can decide whatever you'd like here. You have some extra options here for a couple more advanced things. These are more for if you wanted to make the package very specific. So if you wanted to add a description to it and stuff like that, or a specific configuration page, such as like if you wanted to link to a website or something like that. Okay, let's click create. And we can see here that test lead contact description has been created. So let's click on this. And now we are in our solution environment. So this is pretty great. You can add existing systems and entities that are already included. So, for example, in Dynamics, we have multiple entities like contact, account, lead, opportunity. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to add an existing entity, and we're going to add contacts, and we're going to add leads. So let's go ahead and look for contacts. I'm going to go ahead and type it up here.
And it's important to note real quick, I want to interject that some of these entities you do not necessarily have to have Dynamics licensing in order to have access to them. As long as you have Powerapps licensing and the correct CDS licensing, you do have access to some general entities, and you also have the ability to create your own entities if the common object or entity isn't available for to be repurposed as in here or customized.
Correct. So some of these might already be created. If they aren't, you can also create your own, which if you just wanted to create something called contact, you could. And you can also include those in your Canvas model and portal apps, which we'll explain in a later video. So if you don't have Dynamics, there will be a later video expanding on how you can actually use these entities to make your own platforms. All right, so now let's click into contact because we're going to add the field to basically these entities. So we're going to click into this. All right, and you can see all of the fields, relationship, business rules, views, forms, dashboards, charts, keys, and data. And basically what all of this is stuff that works together to make this entity exist. Now, this is already something that has been created. So we can actually add fields to this. There may already be a field that exists with this information. In that case, you would just click out of this and go to add subcomponent. And this is where you can find fields that are already generated. In this case, we're going to create something new. So I'm going to click on Add Field, and we're going to call this Lead Contact Description, right? And it's going to be a simple single line of text, but you do have a lot of other options. This is just going to be some kind of descriptor field. So we're just going to type in test and then see if that moves over to the contact as well. So we're currently under contact, but we're going to do it from the lead to contact. So you can also decide if it's required or not. So when they're actually filling out this information on a form, you could say, okay, well, is this optional? Is it recommended or is it required? Recommended is simply something that will say, hey, just a reminder, you didn't fill out this field. And required will say you can't do anything further until you fill in that field. So we're going to stick to optional for now, though. Searchable is basically, can you query it? So we do want to query this down the road. Say you have some kind of disposition field for sales call or whatever. We'll say somebody calls and you say, well, it was a bot that called me. So you want to mark it as bot. Well, we want to search later how many bots have called us and make sure we block all those numbers. How can we query it? Yeah. So and you know, bots are everywhere. Everybody gets bot calls. So it's just, you know, that's how things are. But basically, that's what this field does here. You can either check this or uncheck this. So if it's a field that you care about, that you want to query or make a report later, just go ahead and check off searchable. And that usually doesn't add any extra weight to the field, so it won't make anything slow or anything like that. Never hurts to include searchable. Next is calculated or roll up. This you can click add if you want to do a specific calculation or a roll up. This is if you want to basically calculate multiple fields on a single form. So for example, if you said, well, I want every integer that's on the page, you know, like say there's 3 fields for cost, like cost 1, cost 2, cost 3 for a product, and you just wanted to total those up, this is the field you want to go to. You want to do a calculation or a roll up. Lastly, you can do a brief description. This helps you when you're deciding what's what. Basically, you'll create something and say you have a field that has a very similar display name, but the actual background name, you know, is completely different because it has to be. Well, the description field will pop up and basically explain specifically what this field does if you add that. So it is useful when you're putting in this information. All right, so lastly, we have advanced options here, and basically we have, you know, multiple options here, but the main one we're going to focus on for right now in this video is max length, because this is probably the most important. If you have a field that you think is still going to be one line, but might go a little bit longer, for instance, like a street address, sometimes they're really, really long, Sometimes you want to change this to like 250 or however many characters you actually need in that field. So that's just something to keep in mind. But we're just going to click on done, and we're going to continue through with this because this is a brief descriptor field. All right, so we have our lead contact description field, and basically what we want to do now is go ahead and go over to lead and recreate the exact same field because we're just trying to look for that similarity here. We're going to create that relation. First thing we want to do, though, is just click Save Entity, so that way we save all of our changes. Just make it simple. All right, and then basically we're going to click on Test Lead Contact Description, so that way we can go back to this. We're going to click on Lead, and then we are going to create the exact same field on here. All right, so we created this here, and now we're going to click on Save Entity again. Okay, so now we have it created in lead and contact. So now we basically have to decide, okay, well, how are we actually going to see this data? Where are we going to see it? So we decided that we're going to use dynamics in this video just to show you an example. And basically, we want to include this option in our dynamics form. So we want to basically see a lead. We want everything we write on that lead in this field to go over to contact. So we have to include the fields on the form so that they can see, anybody can see this data move across from both sides. So basically what we're going to do is now we're going to create a new form. So let's click on add form, and we're going to do a main form because that's the, the option that everybody wants to pick. It's basically going to be the first thing you see when you click on a lead. That's essentially what we're doing here. You also have other options for quick view and quick create and card, but we're going to go into those in a later video. That's some other features that Microsoft has added to Power Apps to make things a little snappier and easier. So let's go ahead and click on main form. All right, so what we have here is the current main form for lead. So when you click on lead, you're basically going to see all of this information. So what we want to do is go ahead and add our description field. So we're going to do lead contact description, and this is great. You think about all the programming you have to do to actually build CRM platforms. Watch this. Drag, drop, easiest thing. So now you can see that we have this included on our form. You have some extra options over here. This is more for the actual visuals portion of it. So if you want to hide the label so the name's completely missing, you could do that. If you wanted to make it read only so that people can't change it, you can do that. In this case, we are on the lead form. So in this case, basically we want this to not be read-only. We want to be able to edit this because we want the contact form one to be read-only, so that way people can't change the information that is written there in lead. You also have the ability to lock, hide, and hide on phones. So if this is something that you don't want people to see on their phones, you can hide it, and when they're looking at the visuals, they won't be able to see it. It might be better to include this if it's like a big chart that you've made and it just it won't fit on the screen correctly. So anyways, now we are going to click Save because we want to save that field on this page. And then we're going to click on Publish. Perfect. So now we know that the information that we changed here, that we added, this field and everything, has been published to the overall package. So now all of the changes have been saved, essentially. The Save button will just save it as a draft before actually publishing it to the package. So you do want to make sure that you publish it if you wanted to make it an actual option. All right, so now that everything is published, we're going to go ahead and click on the top left where we can click on Power Apps again, and it'll bring us back to that main menu. We're going to click on Solutions again, and we're going to go to Test Lead Contact Description. And now we're going to do the exact same thing, but for contact. You might ask, why didn't I, do this in the form before I switched to the other entity? And it was more so to show you fields first, and now we're going to go into forms because we want to show you the back end and then the front end. So we're going to click on main form, and I'm going to go ahead and speed up this process. That way you don't have to sit through the exact same thing. Okay, so now that we have basically everything created in both entities, both fields are on every form, well, the main forms. Now we can show you the actual like fun stuff, the stuff that I love personally, because I'm a developer. I have written in multiple different languages, and this is one of the best things because it is a perfect tool for quick development. No more integrating with APIs, no more worrying about anything. So now we're going to go to the Power Automate aspect of Powerapps. We're going to click on New, and we're going to click on Flow. And Flow is essentially just a bunch of connectors that is going to provide an amazingly easy solution for you. You have access to all different kinds of things, but what we're going to focus on is just the common data services. Just up front, you can see they have buttons for triggers. They have an RSS feed for triggers. They have Gmail. They have all different kinds of things. You can click on here, and the possibilities are endless. I mean, there are a lot of apps you can integrate with here.
Awesome. I mean, that seems super powerful.
Yeah, you don't even have to. You just have to make an account, and usually you just have to sign in. That's pretty much the hardest thing you're going to have to do here. So for now, we're going to go with common data services because, we want to make something for our lead to contact description field. So what we're going to do here is we're going to click on CDS, and then we're going to go to when a record is created, updated, or deleted, because that's what we're looking for. We want every time our field changes, we want it to update in the contact section. Okay. So now we're going to click on trigger condition, and basically we have multiple options here, but what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and click update because we are waiting to see if the lead is updated. So now we're going to pick under the entity name, lead. All right, and the scope is going to be, let's do the entire organization because we want everybody to be affected by this. You do have other options here. We basically have the parent of the business unit, you have specific users, you have the business unit itself. There is multiple different things you can do here. There are multiple different things in each connector. The possibilities for Flow are pretty much endless. I mean, you could do anything with this, but we're just going to focus on the simple stuff for now. If you want to go into more detail, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help. We can assist in creating flows. We can build the flows for you and package these solutions just to make it easy on you. But, at the end of the video, we're going to have our contact information available, so feel free to reach out to us. So let's click on the next step. So after these changes happen, we're going to click on Common Data Services, and we have multiple actions we can do here. Now, there is kind of this trick here with metadata. So when you actually have a change, the only thing that's going to show is the actual change that happened and specific metadata that goes along with it. So you won't get the full record. What I like to do always when I do these like quick little update changes, I always do a get record right after and try to grab the exact same record that was pulled from the connector before. So in this case, entity name, we're going to do lead because we're going to grab that same lead. And the ID is going to be the unique identifier for the field. So over here, you can see we're going to add a dynamic field, right? A dynamic variable, essentially. Every time, every time we go through this could be any lead. This whole situation could be any lead. So we don't want to type in lead, 001. We want to have it assess each lead. So we're going to type in the unique identifier, which we have options to, tons of different identifiers here, tons of different variables. We're going to click on lead. And just like that, we have the lead from the previous connector included. So it's awesome. We're now getting this lead again, except we're getting all of the metadata, which is great. Okay, we're going to hit next step. And now we're going to do common data services again. And now basically we're going to get the related field and update it. So we're going to update a record. Now we're going to go to contact because that's what we're updating. Sometimes this pops up when you type in too fast. It'll just say can't find the entity. But basically what's going to happen is it's going to correct itself in a couple of minutes after you pick the entity. So now for item ID, we're going to go ahead and put contact because this is the related contact type. And the field that we're going to update is that lead contact description field. So we're going to look for that here. Now, sometimes when it's not here, you do have the option below, but let me go ahead and just show you that it is right here. Sometimes when it is not here, there will be a plus button down at the bottom because you have sometimes thousands of fields and they can't show everything on the same screen. You would just click on that and then search for it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do lead contact description because this is from your lead get record. So when we click on this, now it's grabbing that same field and then filling it into the contact version. So this is, remember, this is the contact, the related contact. All we're doing is we're taking the lead, we're taking the value that changed on the lead, and we're plugging that into contact. Okay, so once you're done with that, basically you're done with the entire thing, which is great. Something we like to do before we finish up here is basically just click on flow checker. What this will do is it'll tell you if you have any errors. So it looks like we don't have any, which is great. But they would pop up here. They would also have warnings just in case there's some things that seem like syntax is off or something like that. It would include that here as well. All right, so let's go ahead and click save. Okay, now that this is all saved up, we can head back over to Powerapps where we're going to go back to our package. And we're going to head back to solutions because now our solution is actually complete. So if you click on our solution, you can see everything is packaged up. We got our flow, we have our lead with our form and our field, we have our contact with our form and our field. So now we're just basically going to go ahead and test this. So let's go ahead and publish all customizations because now this is going to go to our sandbox environment, and then we're going to jump into our sandbox environment. And finally, I'll show you how to bring this to your production environment if everything goes as planned. Okay, now that everything is published, let's go ahead and go to our test environment, and basically we'll head straight into lead, create a new lead, and then test that field. Okay, what we can see here is we have all of our leads, and basically we're just going to go ahead and create a new lead. Because remember, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to just add, a quick description in our field and then see if it carried over to contact. Go ahead and just type in test, and then I'm going to relate this to one of our test contacts. Let's go ahead and click on Michael test here. So it's going to automatically populate some of our information. This is from other solutions that we've put together. But no matter what, for a lead, you'll have a topic and a contact. So for now, let's just have this. We're going to click on save. And now we're going to go over to the form we created. So we're going to click on lead up here and go to main form. And when we scroll down just a little bit, you can see lead contact description. This is the field that we put into our form. So basically, I'm just going to fill in something here. I'm going to put this is a test. And then I'm going to go ahead and click save. Now, when I click save, that flow will interact with the already created lead. So it's saying this lead has changed, right? Because that's what we said. And now I'm going to go find its contact and write the same information into that contact. So that's basically what we're going to do the minute we hit save. Okay, so let's go ahead and check on this Michael contact. And then we are already on the main page. And if you scroll down a little bit, you can see lead contact description did carry over that description field, which is fantastic. That's exactly what we're aiming for. So the flow was a success. The field is on both sides. So basically now we can see when anybody updates that lead that we had for this person, this is the last bit of description that we're going to have. So even though it says this is a test, this could be useful in other situations, such as if you were to do the last disposition, the last moment of contact. What was it, right? It was a LinkedIn. Was it a call? Was it a text message? Anything. So that's going to carry over here, and the last disposition would be LinkedIn, for example. So that's the last contact you had with the person. You can use this for numerous other things, but this is just an example of how to use flows. There are many other ways to use flows. I mean, we could have this also go to Twitter if we wanted to. We could have it go anywhere. So just something to keep in mind. So now we're going to show you the last little bit of this. We are going to deploy the solution into our production environment now that we know it works. So let's go ahead and go back to our Power App. We can close out of Dynamics for now, and I'm going to go ahead and click Done. And basically, we're just going to go ahead and click on the solutions here, and we're going to see this Power App again. Now, what we want to do here is just highlight it, and we're going to go ahead and export it because we've already published all of the changes. We're ready now to put it in our production since we know that it's working. So let's go ahead and click Export. It'll ask you again before you export if you want to check for issues and if you want to publish all your changes. This is great if you didn't publish the changes, but we did right before we tested everything, so we know we're good to go. Let's go ahead and click next. And now basically we have the version number. So if you wanted to say, okay, this is our first deployment, right, ever, this is going to be 1.0.0, and a managed solution is basically, okay, every time we want to make a change, you have to do it in Sandbox first. Every time you want to just deploy and you want to make a change in the production environment for whatever reason, you can deploy it as unmanaged, but we do recommend you stay unmanaged just because it's a safer bet. You don't want anybody going in there and changing anything while in production. It could break a lot of things. So something to keep in mind as well is every single time you get to this screen to export, it will always try to iterate this, so that way you're automatically on the latest version, which, you decide. So now we're going to go ahead and click on export. All right, so that finished up. Now you can see test lead contact is zipped up in a file right here. We're going to go ahead and now import this into our production environment. So we're going to go ahead and click on the environment section. We are going to go to the second option, which is our production environment. And granted, this is our production environment in a demo situation, so don't worry about it. We're not going to affect anything. So we're going to go to Solutions. And now we have some customizations here, and we're going to go ahead and click Import, browse for the file. And basically, what popped up on my screen, I'm not sure if you're able to see it, is a bunch of files and everything. We're going to just double click and find the file that we just downloaded, and we're going to go ahead and click that for the import. Okay, so now we can see our solution has been imported. And like I said, this can be short or long. It's dependent on how many customizations you have. But I'm going to go through this one more time just to show you what an upgrade would look like, because this is extremely important as to how to deploy your new code as opposed to your old code and just writing stuff in production, which we highly are, we don't recommend at all. So let's go back to our Powerapps, back to the original package we had. And so I'm not going to make any changes, but I'm going to go ahead and export this again as an upgraded version, so that way it recognizes it that way. So I'm going to go to Solutions, and I'm going to export this. I'm going to click Next, and now I'm going to keep this at 1001 because we had 1000 last time. I'm going to click Export. All right, so now we have our new package file here. We're going to go back to our production environment, and I'm going to go ahead and import this new file. I'm going to click on Next. And basically, now we're going to see the options for updating. So these are a quick rundown of what each one is. Upgrade, which is usually recommended, is, they upgrade your solution to the latest version. Any components not present will be deleted. So basically, in the newest version, if you deleted something that was in the previous version, it will also delete it in the newest version, along with upgrading all of the stuff that you upgraded. So it basically does what you'd expect from an upgrade. A stage for upgrade is basically, it's an upgrade, but when you delete something from the previous version, it keeps it. So that way, if you want to stage it and then delete it later, you can just do it that way. So you can delete one at a time. So this is safe if you just want to bring in all the new stuff while not deleting any of the old stuff, but it will cause some bloat. So you just want to be careful and keep in mind what you deleted from the previous version. And lastly, update is just an entire replacement of the older version. So it's basically deleting and re-importing. So that's all this is. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to go ahead and click upgrade and import. And now it's going to do that final import, and we can see the solution is already imported. So we're pretty much ready to go here. And now, Mike, I am finally going to hand it back off to you for some licensing and just to wrap things up for us.
Awesome. Well, I feel like, we gained a lot of knowledge there. So critical stuff. Thank you so much for the presentation there, Dylan. And if you guys have already seen this slide before, if you'd seen our previous video, feel free to skip it. But this is the Power App pricing that comes straight off Microsoft's site. They have two options, per app or per user. Probably going to want to go the per user route because the demonstration that we showed earlier, we showed a Power App is if you already had Dynamics, which is Microsoft's full-blown CRM. You don't have to have that in order to build a Power App. You can have just the Power App licensing, a CDS licensing, and then you can go and create your own entities, your own business flows, your own forms, and go wild. So really, if you were, if you're paying, the 150 $200 a month per Salesforce license, or another CRM, and you really aren't using all of it, um, you should really consider making a transition. This is highly customizable. That and Dylan went over it with the flows, the um, the integrations that you can do with different applications and business tools that everybody leverages. It really can't be discounted. So that's the pricing. Again, as always, you're going to hear a pitch. We're a cloud service provider. So, don't pay. This is MSRP. Don't pay MSRP. If you have any questions, if you're interested, you want to know more about Power Apps, get in touch with us. Contact information's on the screen. You see our email, our phone number, our website. We would love to be of service to you guys. If you guys have any questions, you have something that you're wanting to pursue, and you aren't sure if you have the expertise on staff to help with that, we would love to be a resource for you. So with that being said, we genuinely appreciate you hanging out with us and watching our video, and learning a little bit more about something we're passionate over here. We love Microsoft and we love Power Apps. So with that, this is Michael signing off. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for spending the time with me, guys. I appreciate it. We'll see you in the next video.
Awesome. Take care.